All right, everybody, good evening to you. Thank you so much for joining me here at the Atlanta News First Alert Desk. I'm Savannah Louie. Here it is September 1st. We are glad to have you here on this Friday evening, the start of a new month, and hopefully the start to a very wonderful Labor Day weekend. All right, we are going to get to your top stories for this evening. I want to start with a story that has a lot of folks pretty upset tonight. This is happening here in Atlanta. You may be familiar with the Shakespeare Tavern Playhouse. It is sort of an institution here in the Atlanta metro area. Unfortunately, we're hearing reports that someone intentionally set fire to part of that building. From here, our reporter Rachel Aragon is going to explain what exactly we know so far and what authorities are still looking for.
Actors and production crew tell me the fire started right around here near their mailbox, as you can see right here from this sign. But luckily, though, despite the fire and that extensive water damage, those actors and production crew still able to do what they love. For over 30 years, Atlanta's beloved Shakespeare Tavern Playhouse has entertained theater goers with performances by the English playwright.
So this is where most of the damaged stuff, the seriously damaged stuff, came from.
But never has the phrase, "the show must go on," ring more true than on August 13th, when the theater caught fire early in the morning.
The system went off. One sprinkler went for 30 minutes, and that's what did all the actual serious damage.
Gallons of water saturating the nonprofit's production offices, floors, and hundreds of yards of fabrics.
Some of it irreplaceable, well kept, but considerably older than a lot of our stock. Costumes that we still use and reuse.
After inspectors deemed it safe, the actors' attention moved to the 2:30 matinee that day.
There wasn't any question that we were going to push through and make the call at like 12:30 when audience would start arriving for dinner.
In between this week's curtain calls, the nonprofit has been focused on raising money for repairs.
We've got insurance, so stuff is going to be covered. We don't know what else we're going to need to cover, what we're going to need to pay for. That's unknown until the process gets underway more.
The water damage, while destructive, never disrupting a scene by those on stage.
That wasn't ever an option. And thank goodness, with a lot of hard work that morning, we were able to do the thing we do, which felt really good.
The Playhouse says they are grateful for the community support and that no one was injured in that fire. Reporting in Midtown, Rachel Aragon, Atlanta News First.
All right, so again, if you know anything further about what may have happened at the Playhouse, you're asked to contact police with any of those details. All right, I want to move straight ahead here to a story that overtook not only parts of southern Georgia, but also parts of South Carolina and Florida. We are talking about Idalia. Lots of damage caused by this storm. I'm going to go ahead and show you. This is from the southern region of Georgia, what you're looking at right here. Now, the latest development today has to do with state officials. We're hearing from them regarding the overall damage from what the storm did to southern Georgia. So while we know that Florida did take the hardest hit from the storm, well, Georgia actually saw the longest track of any state. Most of it, again, in that rural area. This means that Idalia took a heavy toll on the farmland. We heard from the state agriculture commissioner, Tyler Harper, who says you can expect a huge loss in crops this year, including 60% of this year's pecan crop and a loss of up to a fourth of its pecan trees in the areas hit by the storm. Harper also says the remaining tobacco and corn crop in the impacted area that hadn't already been harvested this year is probably all gone. Now, Governor Kemp has requested the Federal Emergency Management Agency to give a disaster declaration, which would allow for federal help to get to these impacted areas. If you are an agriculture business that has been hit by the storm, you should document the damage here and report it to Idalia at agr.georgia.gov. Now, earlier today, Governor Kemp did give a full press conference in Valdosta, and we at Atlanta News First, we recorded that press conference. We've put it online for you. If you want to watch the full thing where he details what to do if you've been impacted by the storm, what you can expect next, beyond what we've already said here tonight, you can go to AtlantaNewsFirst.com. You can also go to the Atlanta News First app, and we have that press conference in full. I was actually just watching it at my computer, and it's pretty comprehensive there. So great resource for you folks out there. All right, now I do want to get to a pretty fun story to wrap up the evening. And hopefully, if you are in the Atlanta area, maybe you're looking for something fun to do this weekend, you can check this out. All right, of course, we are talking about Dragon Con. Thousands of people come here to Atlanta every year for this event. This attracts so many people in the coolest costumes. I love how they dress up. All right, so if you are not aware, if you're living under a rock, what is Dragon Con? Well, it's the largest multimedia pop culture convention, and there's a big focus on science fiction, fantasy, gaming, comics, literature, art, music, and film in the universe. Now, this is far from the first Dragon Con, or the second, or the third, or the fourth. It all started back in 1987. One of my personal favorite parts about Dragon Con is the parade. Last year, we had a bunch of footage in our newscast of the parade, and it is so fun, again, to see all these folks dressed up and just in such a good mood, right? You got a lot of really creative people here. So if you're curious about the parade, if you want to see the parade for yourself in person, it's on September 2nd. That's tomorrow, and it all starts at 10 a.m. It begins at Peachtree Street in Midtown and Linden Street, before going down, or I guess downtown, I should say, before it goes all the way down Peachtree Street to Andrew Young International Boulevard. And then it goes down for a block before turning onto Peachtree Center Avenue Northeast, and it finally all ends in front of the Marriott. If you can't make the parade, don't worry. Dragon Con itself actually runs until September 4th, so you have plenty of days to get out there, have some fun. And it's spread across a number of hotels in downtown Atlanta. So we're talking about the Hyatt Regency, the Hilton, Westin Peachtree, Marriott Marquis, Cortland Grand, that's formerly the Sheraton Atlanta, and then the America's Mart buildings 2 and 3. So you have plenty of options there. Now, if you do go down, yeah, you could drive and have to deal with parking, but of course, MARTA is around, and everybody likes MARTA. It's good for the environment, right? And maybe you'll meet some of these fun folks out there for yourself, right? All right, so a lot of fun stuff. And again, we're expecting like 70,000 people to come to Atlanta for this convention. So a lot of really exciting stuff going on. Hopefully, you guys are not getting into too much trouble on this Labor Day long weekend. I do know someone, though, who is always getting into trouble.
Coming off a win.
All right, and with that, we're showing you a picture of the Midtown Atlanta skyline with my buddy, meteorologist Patrick Pete. And Patrick is bringing us a wonderful forecast for the weekend. Hey, Patrick.
Oh, gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous weather in store for us across the area as we head into the weekend. What's going on, everybody? Let me adjust my height because I need a slightly higher angle. Bam, there we go. Hopefully you all having a fantastic Friday. Listen, I know you were probably sitting at happy hour, sitting at home, watching us or joining us on YouTube, streaming live. And it's Friday, so you don't want to be here for a long time. So we're going to get you what you need to know about this forecast. And what you need to know is that it's looking fantastic. I am happy. Honestly, low rain chances near 0 for the next 5 days. It is going to be gorgeous. There's going to be some clouds around as we start off your Saturday morning, but those clouds will gradually decrease through the day. We're going to see a comfortable air out there. Dew points are going to be in the upper 50s, low 60s. It's going to be very manageable to be out and about no matter what time you're trying to get out this weekend. Green light to find your way outside and enjoy some life. There's some moisture to the south of us. There's about a 20% chance of a stray sprinkle this evening. I don't expect that to make it into Atlanta. I think it should stay well to the south of us, and it's just sprinkles, especially considering we saw lots of locations get 3 to 5 inches last week or earlier this week. I think we can all handle a couple of sprinkles easily. We'll see clearing skies as we head through your Saturday afternoon and a picture-perfect conditions for the second half of the day. Starting off the morning in the upper 60s, near 70 degrees across our region. Those clouds are there. Some rays of sun are going to break through those clouds gradually through the afternoon. Temperatures getting into the upper 70s around lunchtime. Listen, We were just telling you about Dragon Con. If you're thinking about stepping out for the parade, it starts at 10. Temperatures are going to be very comfortably in the 70s, pushing into the 80s as we head into the second half of the afternoon. I don't know where you're going to be, but I'm going to be on somebody's patio because this type of weather is just too nice to be sitting indoors. So I imagine we're all going to have long waits tomorrow for the patio. So if you have that spot that you really, really want to dine at, this is a good time for you to go ahead and call, make those reservations, and get your spot in. Clear skies through the overnight. Temperatures are going to start to cool a little bit. I will be very honest with you all. This one particular model that we're showing you right now, I do think is overdoing the overnight temperatures Saturday night into Sunday morning. I think most of us are going to be in the mid-60s, cooler numbers north of the city, but I don't think that we'll see a whole lot of 50s to start off your Sunday. But nonetheless, climbing into the 80s around lunchtime, sunshine going to really heat the atmosphere. We're going to see those temperatures climb into the upper 80s as we push into the afternoon. So even Sunday's looking great, and it's going to even continue to be better as we trend into your Memorial Day. Lots of sun, 90 degrees, low humidity. I don't know where the steaks are going to be, where the chicken's going to be, or where the grilled salmon is going to be, but I will be here. And if you want to bring me a plate, go ahead and be my guest. All jokes aside, the weather's really perfect for all of those backyard barbecues that I know a lot of you are looking to plan. The whole weekend is looking great. I know that most people have already made their plans. They've solidified things, but the weather's going to be so nice here in North Georgia that if you're kind of contemplating going somewhere else, whether that's to one of the coastlines to get away, you might as well just stay home, save the money, and just enjoy what we have here to deal with, because it is just amazing. Meanwhile, we're keeping an eye on the tropics because today is September 1st, and that means that we are 9 days away from the peak of hurricane season, that peak being around September 10th. So we are expecting things to ramp up in the Atlantic Ocean, in the Atlantic Basin, and that continues to be our story. There's a lot on this map, so we don't really have a lot of time during the newscast to break this down, but since we're on this digital platform, we can kind of take our time and dive into it. You're going to see the word post-tropical. You see it twice here, Idalia and with Franklin. Essentially what that means is the characteristics of both of those storms are no longer tropical. And you can kind of pick up on that by looking at satellite imagery here. Where the L is, where Idalia is, you don't even really see a well-defined circulation. You know, with tropical systems, you can typically see a counterclockwise rotation. You don't see any of that with Idalia. And you can see it with post-tropical cyclone Franklin, but what you don't necessarily can depict because of all of the labels that we have here is that you see where that center is, where that one is rotating. All of the convection is to the north and east of it, so it no longer has the structure of a tropical system. And for all of the weather nerds out there to be, because I know a lot of you all are watching, you know, I wanted to be a meteorologist because of a hurricane and the weather coverage that I saw leading up to that hurricane and dealing with it. So some of y'all are out there. With that system, whenever you have a tropical system, the convection is normally near the center and it normally is closed. With this post-tropical system, all of that convection is sheared off. It just has a different structure there. Meanwhile, Tropical Storm Jose is still a tropical storm. It's forecast to weaken and actually kind of get enveloped into the system that is currently post-tropical cyclone Franklin. And then Tropical Depression Gert is very interesting because I know that a lot of our keen-eyed observers will probably notice that we weren't talking about Tropical Depression Gert yesterday, and that was because it wasn't a thing. Tropical Depression Gert actually was a system that was named about 14 or 15 days ago, and that system essentially dissolved. But the actual shortwave, the actual center of low pressure still existed. It just weakened and it was no longer classified as a tropical system. But the National Hurricane Center, they continue to monitor these areas of low pressures. They don't just, go away unless they shy off to northern elevations or latitudes and move to the east. But this one's just kind of been hanging out in the Atlantic. And all of a sudden, today, it started to regain tropical characteristics. You can kind of see on this imagery here that it's starting to have a center of circulation. So it continues to be named Gert. It's just, it's arisen from the dead, so to speak, after 11 days of being unconscious. Tropical Depression 12 off the coast of Africa, something we're going to continue to monitor. That should eventually start to drift to the north. What we're more closely watching is this tropical wave that's coming off the coast of Africa, because that one's looking a little bit more robust. It's going to be moving into an area that is more conducive to development over the course of the next week. So by the middle of next week, we could be dealing with at least a tropical depression. So while things have been a little bit quieter closer to home, in the tropics, things are still heating up, and we're going to keep an eye on all that stuff for you, because I know that a lot of y'all are trying to get in your last-minute travel plans. I know summer is technically over, but we still travel until it gets cool here. So with the 90s coming back into the forecast next week, some of y'all are going to try to make your escapes to maybe Jamaica, Puerto Rico, Dominican Republic, or whatever. And we're going to keep an eye on the tropics for you, and we'll have that update for you. Meanwhile, you get a little bit of a break from us tonight, but meteorologist Fred Campagna is going to be going through this weekend's forecast hour by hour for you, just in case you missed it or you needed a little bit more info. But more importantly, he's going to have additional updates, two updates to the tropics at 11 o'clock tonight on Atlanta News First. So those are reasons enough for you to actually tune in. So I'm going to leave you with this 7-day forecast so that you can finish your dinner and, toast to the weekend. And we will catch you at 11 o'clock tonight.